I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing or they don't know anything about boxing, they wanna watch Jake Paul because he's coming from he bring fans from other world, right? Yeah. That's good because everybody enjoy it.
Would you ever entertain that idea when you're done?
Maybe.
There are some reports now coming out that Canelo Jake Paul is a thing in May as well, which, by the way, what a freaking year for Canelo Alvarez. Holy shit. Those are two gigantic.
Canelo Alvarez has finally broken his silence regarding his rumored fight with Jake Paul. Reports indicate that the two have reached an agreement to face off in May.
That fight ends up being close.
Yes.
A lot of people are going to watch that fight, right?
A lot, because I think a lot of people are going to want to see Jake Paul lose. And
this bout is expected to serve as a tune-up for Canelo as he prepares to defend his unified super middleweight titles against Terence Crawford on September 13th at T-Mobile Arena.
Said that you'd like to go up against Canelo Alvarez. What gives you the right to call out a 59-2 boxer, one of the greatest of all time, when you've not yet proven yourself?
I'm predicting what's going to happen 3 more years from now.
So I'm
going to get to his skill level and beat him. I have one of the greatest self-belief systems in the world, and I know what I'm capable of, and with this new team, I can give Canelo a serious
Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul have reached an agreement, but key details such as the weight class and number of rounds remain unclear.
Question: if it's a close fight, does it diminish the gigantic fight in September, or does it make you more interested? Because I think now, I mean, David Benavidez offered a deferring point, but I think a lot of people think Canelo is just going to be too big.
With a record of 62-2-2, Canelo has never been one for exhibition fights, making it unlikely he'd settle for anything less than a legitimate bout.
He told me before his goal is to fight Canelo, so that's, you know, where his mindset's at.
He get fucked up by Canelo. Oh, I'm sorry. It's TMZ.
You can curse. You can curse. You can curse.
I apologize, but
no apologize about
it. There's no way he get.
The showdown with Paul is expected to generate even more pay-per-view sales than Canelo's highly anticipated September clash with Terence Crawford. Jake Paul's massive social media presence, boasting 23.6 million Instagram followers and 20.6 million YouTube subscribers, adds to the fight's enormous appeal. If the fight turns out to be competitive, it raises serious questions. Terence Crawford's popularity doesn't compare to Canelo's, and his last pay-per-view bout against Israil Madrimov on August 3rd was a massive flop, generating an estimated 75,000 to 100,000 buys. Without Turkish businessman Turki Alalshik's financial backing, a fight with Crawford might not have even been considered. Meanwhile, social media is buzzing with disbelief at the idea of Canelo lowering himself to fight YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul. However, in a recent interview with TMZ Sports the Mexican superstar made it clear, if the price is right, he's open to it. Financially, a bout with Jake Paul could far surpass the payday from his scheduled May fight against IBF super middleweight champion William Skull. According to a source close to the negotiations, there is already an agreement for Jake Paul to be Canelo's opponent in May. The event is expected to be co-promoted by Canelo Promotions, MVP, and PBC. Boxing insider Julius Julianist took to *X* to share updates on the potential fight. Jake Paul recently secured an 8-round unanimous decision victory over 59-year-old Mike Tyson in Arlington, Texas on November 15th. If Canelo follows through with this fight, it will only fuel criticism that he is coasting through a retirement tour, capitalizing on low-risk matchups while maximizing pay-per-view earnings. Since his defeat to Dmitry Bivol on May 7, 2022, many argue that Canelo has yet to truly test himself in a high-stakes bout. Despite widespread skepticism, there is no concrete proof that this fight isn't happening. Fans are divided, with some refusing to believe Canelo would entertain such a matchup. Boxing commentator Wade Plum weighed in on the rumors, stating on, "I thought if this was ever going to happen, it would be years from now, but in 3 months while Canelo is still a sitting champ. If this is real, it's the last thing anyone would expect right now. Plem added that while he isn't certain about the fight's legitimacy, too many respected journalists and analysts are discussing it for the reports to be baseless. Asterisk could be a bad source or a purposeful bait, but this isn't something reporters just make up. Asterisk, he noted. MMA journalist Ariel Helwani also acknowledged the growing speculation. On the February 4th episode of Asterisk, the Ariel Helwani Show Asterisk, he seemed to accept the reports at face value, though he stopped short of fully verifying them. Helwani did not suggest the fight was a hoax, which could indicate there is some truth to the rumors. There are some reports now coming out that Canelo versus Jake Paul is a thing in May as well. Which, by the way, what a freaking year for Canelo Alvarez. Those are two gigantic paydays, these are two massive fights, Helwani remarked. While a potential showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul might sound far-fetched, expert reactions and multiple reports hint that there could be more to it than just speculation. Whether this fight actually happens remains to be seen, but what do you think? Could this clash become a reality? Although Ariel Helwani didn't explicitly confirm reports of a Canelo Alvarez versus Jake Paul fight, he also didn't refute them. Given his well-established network in the combat sports world, his stance suggests he may have insider knowledge. Helwani's history of breaking major fight news lends credibility to the growing speculation. While there is no official announcement, the buzz around this potential bout is becoming harder to ignore. Many fans remain skeptical, believing this matchup is nothing more than a business move rather than a legitimate boxing contest. Paul, a cruiserweight, has built his career by carefully selecting opponents, many of whom were either past their prime or lacked serious boxing credentials. His biggest wins came against former MMA fighters, not professional boxers in their prime. A fight against Canelo would be a completely different challenge. Alvarez, widely regarded as one of the top pound-for-pound fighters, has only lost to elite competition like Dimitri Bivol and Floyd Mayweather. The idea of Paul standing a real chance against the Mexican superstar is laughable to most boxing purists. In fact, some believe that the only way this fight lasts beyond the first round is if Canelo intentionally carries Paul, as some suspect he did in his recent bouts with Edgar Berlanga and Jamie Munguia to avoid criticism for facing relatively easy opponents. Despite the skepticism, speculation continues to mount that the fight will take place in May, aligning with Canelo's tradition of fighting on Cinco de Mayo weekend. Financially, it makes sense. Jake Paul has a massive social media following, and his fights, even against low-level competition, generate huge pay-per-view numbers. Canelo, already an icon in the sport, has an estimated net worth of over $100 million and continues to cash in on high-profile fights. While a showdown with Paul may not offer much in terms of competition, it would undoubtedly be a lucrative event. At this stage in his career, Canelo seems to be more focused on maximizing earnings rather than taking on the toughest challenges. His rumored September bout against Terence Crawford at 154 pounds will be a far more legitimate test, though it won't generate the mainstream buzz that a fight with Jake Paul would. The contrast is clear: one fight is for legacy, while the other is strictly for business. Not everyone is on board with the idea of Canelo taking this fight. Boxing analyst Adol Oladipo shared his thoughts, stating, "If Canelo wanted to get Jake Paul out of there in a minute, I believe he does that." This isn't a knock on Jake Paul. What he and his brother have done in entertainment and boxing is incredible, but he's facing one of the best boxers of this generation. Oladipo further emphasized that Jake Paul's previous opponents, like Anderson Silva and Mike Tyson, were either retired or far past their prime. This is Canelo we're talking about. A legit, active, pound-for-pound fighter. If this fight lasts more than a round, you have to assume Canelo is carrying him. Despite the doubts surrounding Paul's chances, his willingness to step into the ring with one of boxing's biggest names is commendable. Regardless of how people view him, Paul has helped bring new eyes to the sport, particularly younger audiences who may not have followed traditional boxing. There's also a business aspect to consider. Jake Paul's last fight, a Netflix-streamed event against Mike Tyson, reportedly drew massive viewership. This success could have him thinking about another blockbuster event, possibly in partnership with the streaming giant again. If Paul can secure a fight with Canelo, it could revolutionize boxing's pay-per-view model and shift the way major fights are promoted and broadcasted. Interestingly, Paul has also hinted at another fight in July, set to take place in New York.